Hey guys, how's it going? This is Jeff. So today we're going to talk about Hawaiian history and why you should know about Hawaiian history. So to kick it off, we'll start all the way back when the first um, humans arrived in Hawaii about 1,500 years ago, according to science and archaeological evidence. 500 years later, people arrive from Tahiti. So first wave comes from Marquesas and Polynesia. Second wave comes from Tahiti. Now, this is something that you'd want to know. These are two different types of people. One's tall, one's short. So just as you have the Filipinos look different than the Samoans, and the Maori look different than the Samoans, so you have two different types of people, and this is where the story of Menehune comes from. So the taller people had a respect for the Menehune because King Kamehameha was a brute of a man. So, I mean, we're taking it way back. The inter relations between the two islanders would have taken place, of course, just as the French would with the Irish, or the Chinese would with the Indonesians or whatever. I'm telling you about this because of the legend of the Menehune. So there's a little bit of a superstition behind the Menehune. You might want to look it up if you want to understand more about the Hawaiian relationship, where the Menehune come from, because you kind of hear about it. You'll see like Menehune coffee, you'll see it around, but if you don't know what Menehune means, now you'll know because you'll look it up, and it's quite a funny story. So the second thing to keep in mind is deities. Pele's auntie, the snow goddess. I don't know her name, but she's older and wiser, and the ice always seemed to put out the fire. So, and also Mauna Kea, where the snow would come, would basically be the only thing that could tame wild, rebellious Pele, the fire goddess. Like I said, go look it up if you want to know more. So the Hawaiian people at the time, before the Europeans arrived, assumed that whenever something catastrophic would happen, it would be because of something they did. So every action has a reaction, right? So everything has a deity also. Plants have a deity. Fire has a deity. Snow has a deity. Ocean has a deity. If the ocean were to act up, what did you do? What happened? Why did the ocean act up? Why was there a tsunami or a big wave or a tidal wave or this and that? Science has pretty much given reason to a lot of the things that were superstitious. For example, there's going to be a big wave if an earthquake happens. You can't predict the earthquake, but if the earthquake happens, that causes a big wave. So you can now say, well, hey, a big wave's coming, or a storm is coming. But back then, they wouldn't have known this, and as many cultures didn't. But that's where the deity thing comes from, where it was so strong. So enter the introduction of Captain Cook. First arrival is at Waimea Bay. He goes to Waimea Bay. His men interact with the women. Disease starts to spread, as it did on other islands too, because the people brought with them disease and other things like wealth too, that they would acquire from other places that they would go to. Colonize, right? India, China, Africa, New Zealand, Australia, Mediterranean, Italy, Spain. All these things, even the Americas, all these things are being acquired, knowledge and wealth of wisdom or knowledge to the British, and with that they build up relations that disease starts to spread, and some of them would die off. Yeah, as you know, British sailors would die quite frequently on some missions. More than half of the people wouldn't even come back because they died because of contracting these diseases. However many years before the British were doing that, there was an immunity being built into the DNA of these people that was unique to what would have been developing in very isolated, the most isolated place on Earth, Hawaii. It's 2,000. So Hawaii is 2,300 miles away, I believe, from its closest neighbor, which is North America. Like 3,500 miles away from Japan, 5,000 miles away from Philippines, give or take a couple numbers, but you get the point. Most isolated place on Earth. So that population was not building any immunity for a long time outside of the Polynesian people and the Tahitians. So Cook's men arrive. They're having intercourse. Venereal disease also spreads. Cook remembers saying that he noticed, because he was on record saying he didn't necessarily want his men to do that, but a crew of men traveling around the world, he didn't exactly stop them either. But he himself did not partake in that because he was married. So anyways, he leaves Waimea Bay, encounters very friendly people, isolated peoples in Kauai, goes up to the Aleutian Islands with a map because he's trying to chart the Northern Passage. And he eventually goes in and out of the Aleutian Islands with the map from the Russians, doesn't find anything. Remember, Kauai is called Russian Fort. There's a place there called Russian Fort. So the Russians were also coming to Kauai, in the history too. So did the Spanish arrive in Hawaii first? Was it who was it, Was it the Japanese, the Chinese? So all we know is that Cook made it famous, but there's speculation that other places did discover it. I don't know. For pride, I guess people would care who gets the claim. I don't know. But the Union Jack of Hawaii does resemble that of Britain. So he comes back down to Hawaii. This time he lands in Kealakekua Bay in the Big Island, which is the island of Hawaii. First encounter with a young brute, King Kamehameha. King Kamehameha was described in the journals as a young man, very brute, very strong face, very masculine face for a young man. He took interest in the weapons and some of the technologies, and as time would go by, they would later groom him or work with him to become the first person to unify Hawaii, the Hawaiian Kingdom. So, anyway, relations are fine at this time. Cook is supposedly fulfilling a prophecy, and he sends they get a bunch of supplies and they leave. Well, they get defeated by the Straits of Maui. They come back, turn around. This time, it's not so friendly. Hey, why are you back, kind of thing. I thought we'd just give you a bunch of stuff and you were gone, but you just broke your mast and you're coming back to us. What God does this, this and that would have been the supposed attitude about that. Cook ends up going there, spending about 1 to 2 weeks there before hostility really breaks off. The Hawaiians in Ali'i took a boat. The boat was taken. Cook went ashore to go grab the boat, and basically a fight broke out and Cook was killed. Now they killed Cook. Supposedly they were wearing the bones. Queen of England, the crew left without Cook because things had the wheels had fallen off. They lost their mast. They got defeated by Maui, basically the Straits of Maui. Been out to sea for a long time. Their captain just got killed. They head back to England. They sent another party back to England to get Cook's remains. They said that they discovered that they were wearing the bones for spiritual mana reasons, and they got the bones back and they buried them in Kealakekua Bay. So after that, that opens up a whole new world of discovery for the British to colonize the Hawaiian Islands, which were originally named by Cook the Sandwich Islands after the Earl of Sandwich. So so that was in 1778. The Hawaiian language was then was strictly oral at the time, but they ended up teaching them to read. The missionaries did, to read the Bible. And natives were taught by the missionaries to read their language so that they could communicate scriptures of the Bible. Banned in 1898 when Hawaii became a U.S. territory, and then resurrected as the official language in 1978. Hawaiian contains only 12 letters, 5 vowels, and 7 consonants. Well, there you go. So if you want to learn the Hawaiian language, that's pretty much all you need to know. In 1866, after leprosy had begun to swiftly move across the Hawaiian population without a cure, more than 100 victims were forced to be shipped to Kalaupapa on the island of Molokai to live in complete isolation. As its peak in the 1890, more than 1,000 resided in the colony, in the leper colony in Hawaii, in Molokai. Okay, so you got, out of that, you got statehood and U.S. territory in 1898. Well, that was U.S. territory. Then in so after the then the annexation, that's basically when the annexation occurred, and most of the native population was killed off by disease. And after Americans within the Kingdom of Hawaii government rewrote the Constitution, securely curtailing the power of King David Kalakaua and the rights of Native Hawaiians and the Asian citizens to vote, Queen Liliuokalani attempted to restore royal powers in 1893 and was overthrown by a businessman with help from the U.S. military. The Republic of Hawaii was formed for a short time until the government agreed to join the U.S. in 1898 as a territory. In 1859, the islands became a state. So there's a little bit of a controversy there because they're saying that the Hawaiian Islands were stolen illegally from the Hawaiian people. So why was it stolen illegally? Was because there's only two ways that the United States can occupy the or a state becomes a state legally, through military force and another means, I believe, an agreement. And that never happened. And during the Clinton era, President Clinton apologized to the Hawaiian people, saying that what had happened was unlawful to the Hawaiian Kingdom. Today, Hawaii is one of the biggest military bases in the middle of the ocean that the United States has. Pearl Harbor is Oahu is really one big Air Force base that people live in between those bases. There's Air Base, there's Sub Base, there's a Pearl Harbor, which is where big boys come in for porting. There's a Marine base in Kaneohe, and so, yeah. Well, anyways, now the history is that. I mean, that's pretty much, there's just a couple facts you could possibly want to know. Mauna Kea is the tallest mountain in the world, 13,796 feet above sea level, spanning even higher than that because it goes deep into the ocean, so it's taller than Everest. It's actually 33,476 feet. Mount Everest elevation measured from sea level is 29,000 feet. So from sea level, Mount Everest is taller, but the biggest mountain is Mauna Kea. But it's mostly buried below the ocean. Outside of that, that's the gist of the history. Now you need to know this because people are not too happy about what has happened to the Hawaiian Kingdom. They want to restore the Hawaiian Kingdom. That's why you see the flag flying upside down, because the Queen Liliuokalani was basically overthrown without agreeing to, and there was not a military coup. So the annexation is been admitted by the President of the United States at the time, Bill Clinton, that it was unlawful. And at the time Grover Cleveland was president, he had said it was unconstitutional takeover. However, it did happen, and then statehood would later occur also. So many Hawaiian people are trying to fight for sovereignty from the United States, and most of it is because they want to make their own laws, protect their land, protect the Aina, protect the Kuleana, the Ohana, you know, the people. Look out for the people. Take care of them according to their terms, because the big juggernaut American government doesn't quite understand that culture and can't do as good of a job. Then the other side would say, well, that's why they have a state government, and the state government does its job, then those people will be taken care of. See, so a lot of people say, well, if Hawaii were to become a sovereign state, that still doesn't fix anything, because there's no such thing really as sovereignty, because the United Nations will get involved. So it would just be so a lot of people would say, well, if Hawaii gained its sovereignty, all they would be doing is going under the rule of the United Nations instead of the United States. Wow, too much to think about, right? I don't even know what to say about all that. You know, and then there's, well, what if they became a part of Japan or China? And there's always that conversation too. So anyways, this is the gist of the story about the Hawaiian history, and someone had asked to have this video made, and we're making it for her. I couldn't find the comment, but I remember saying yes, I would make it. So if you requested this video to be made, comment, let me know, because I couldn't find the comment in there. But thanks for making the request, and subscribe to the channel if you like.